Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bet the Edge. Thanks, everyone, watching on our NBC Sports YouTube channel. It's Vaughn Dalzell, Drew Disnick. And Drew, I'm sorry to everybody for saying the Steelers were going to win last Sunday. As someone who's at the game, it leads me to ask you and let me tell you a story because that was the second worst sporting event I've ever watched as a fan. The
Yeah.
first one, 2014, Giants Pirates, NL wild card. Brandon Crawford becomes the first shortstop in postseason history to hit a grand slam. You could literally hear a pin drop at PNC Park. I'm in college. I spent $300 total to go to that game. By far the worst. Steelers, though, second. You got a game in mind?
Oh man, that was a bad result, or like you could hear a
Yes.
pin drop, something like that.
Worst
Oh,
result as a fan.
yeah, definitely. Like I went to Red Sox Yankees ALCS before they broke the curse, and they just got run out of the building, and it was like the spirit and the fire from the Red Sox fans was at Fenway was so intense, and just a completely deflating loss. But the Steelers lost, man. I'm still processing it. Really,
I'm
done a
not.
lot
It's
of.
over.
I've
I've
done a
moved
lot
on.
of. I've done a lot of like trying to really get to the bottom of whether or not Kenny Pickett got a concussion on the third play. I think that explains a lot about how I felt about his performance because it felt like he was just kind of staring into lights. It felt like the speed of the game wasn't he wasn't prepared for it. And considering how absolutely razor sharp he looked in the preseason, that was surprising. So I am going to be tuned in and watching every single snap and everything he does this week because I am really concerned if he bounces back and he's razor sharp, that's a huge sign. If there are still elements that look like he's moving a little slow, then I think I'm basically pulling the ripcord on the Steelers for the season. But not great that they had to face two of the top five defenses in the NFL in the first 2 weeks of the season. So should get better no matter how we slice it.
Yeah, I guess so. As a Steelers fan, I knew it was over before pregame because the hype before pregame they brought out the Pittsburgh polka, and that's what was going on. So I knew it
I've
was
danced to the
over.
Pittsburgh polka. I've danced to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, everybody 50 and over was up getting into it. And I was sitting there looking around like the Niners fans are gonna be so happy when we leave this stadium. So that was my Sunday. But Saturday, Drew, was good. The show, we did really well as a team, 25 and 13 overall, Brad, Eric, and myself. I held it down going 8-1, baby, best week of all.
High
So
five.
today,
That's awesome.
virtual high five, baby. So let's talk some college football. You got that? We're talking all football today.
I'm ready.
I'm going to let you have the floor first because this is the best game of the week. It's Central
Mm-hmm.
Michigan at Notre Dame. Chippewas and
Mm-hmm.
Fighting Irish, baby. We got a spread
Yeah.
of 34.5 for Notre Dame, total at 52.5. Anything in particular? Have you heard any word on where the Sharps are lining up in this one?
No, the Chippewas though they surely can't catch a break. 0-2 in the spread so far this season, and it's been a bad beat to the start of the season for the Chippewas, and the opposite for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This team is a covering machine. No spread high enough. They are obviously playing for a little bit of recognition for Sam Howell in the Heisman race. Something that nobody's really saying out loud for some reason. He's doing is compiling statistics. If Notre Dame, they don't really have that challenging of a schedule. Like the whole college football landscape is fascinating to me because Notre Dame all of a sudden is in the mix for a playoff spot. Florida State's in the mix for a playoff spot. You have a number of kind of teams popping up that are sort of legacy programs. Programs that have a ton of just general kind of box office appeal. It's going to be wildly tough to pick 4 teams for the playoff this year, considering how good the top of the Big Ten is, on top of the Pac-12, on top of the SEC. So I'm pretty fired up, and this is a pretty impactful game for Notre Dame. 34.5 is the spread we're looking at totally. Currently, the total is sitting at 52.5. I think there's actually weirdly correlation between. There's correlation between the side and the total here. I think Notre Dame can get to 42 points against the Central Michigan team. If they could do it in the weather last week against a much better defense from NC State, they can definitely do it against the Chippewas. And in fact, like if Notre Dame hits the total by themselves, I wouldn't be shocked. So I think this is going to be one-way traffic fighting Irish, and I think they carry on the just outstanding start to their season.
Well, hold your horses, Drew, because I think Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame are going to say, let's relax in the second half against this Chippewas team, because next week we're at home against the Ohio State Buckeyes on NBC and Peacock. So they will not want to have to risk some injuries. You know, they won't want to risk Sam Hartman, that's for sure. And as you mentioned, I actually bet him over the weekend on Saturday during the NC State game at 30-1 odds. So $10 to win 300 in terms for new bettors, which I think is great value for someone who has 10 touchdowns, no picks, over 700 yards, and the fifth best QBR through 3 games. So I think the best bet here would be Notre Dame first half if you're trying to bet them. But Central Michigan's team total, it's sitting at 9.5. I don't see them scoring 10 points on Notre Dame's defense either. It's gonna be a tough game here.
Okay.
And CMU looked terrible against Michigan State. We know Michigan State's defense is like. But two teams, Drew, that may not be playing much defense at all, in my opinion, is Tennessee versus Florida. The Vols were laying 8 when I bet into Florida +8. Now it's down to 6.5. So, of course, we crossed over the key number, total sitting at 58.5. I actually think this is a trappy game because, like I said, it doesn't seem like there'll be much defense. But, again, last year we had Hendon Hooker on one side, Anthony Richardson on the other. This year it's Joe Milton and Graham Mertz. The QBRs are not the same. I like Florida in the swamp. What do you like?
So, coming full circle to your question off the top, have I ever been in a stadium where you could hear a pin drop?
Yes.
Tennessee, Florida. 2006. 2006. I was at the Tennessee. I forget what the name of it is now, but I was at Tennessee home game hosting Florida, and there were 110,000 Tennessee fans. The Volunteer Navy pulls up. The tailgate was rocking. If you didn't already know, this is one of the better kind of untalked about rivalries in college football. No love lost, Vaughn. Not sure if you knew that, but there's no love lost between Tennessee and Florida. They throw out the records, Vaughn. Throw out the records when these two teams play.
Mm-hmm.
But that game in 2006 was absolutely wild. That was the first game that Tebow got to play. They brought him in to do some quarterback sneaking in the fourth quarter. Florida comes away with the upset there on the road, 21-20. You literally, you would have thought that 100,000 people lost their grandfather that day as they were walking out of that place. Like it was because you lose one game in college football, your season is over.
Yes.
And for that to happen against Florida, and for Florida, that was an incredible comeback from Florida. Like Tennessee probably thought they had that one in the bag, but it was not to be the case. All that said, I think this is going to be a pretty competitive game. I do think Florida is a little bit better than what people are rating them because, the kind of the high profile game that they had this season to start the season was against Utah. And I don't know if you knew this, but it's tough to go and play at elevation early in the season. Not easy. That's not an easy lift. So there's a little bit, I think, of a just a little bit of a signal being misconstrued about that Utah-Florida game. And so for those reasons, if I had to take a side, I would take Florida. Now it's come off of a key, so 6.5 isn't the best price you're going to get. And I think I'm going to probably just at least watch this one because it's, again, such an incredible rivalry. See if Tennessee comes out a little bit hot, scores a touchdown early, and then come back and grab some Florida at that point because Florida has the talent to go score for score with these guys. I think it's going to be, again, a very competitive game. And if you're going to get me on the other side of 7 with a live opportunity on Florida, then I'll take it. So my general read on that one is look for a live spot.
There are no top 25 matchups in college football this week, but I'll tell you, there are going to be top 25 teams that lose. Tennessee will be one of them.
Oh, you're going money
Tennessee
line
will
Gators.
Be one of them. Yes. All right, playing them at 225. Chop it up, baby. I love it because Graham Mertz, you said against Utah in the first half, he looked pretty good. They used him totally different than Wisconsin. I was a hater. I was a hater of Mertz at Wisconsin in general, but now I'm actually becoming a lover of the situation there for him at Florida. And if you enjoyed Drew's story about that Florida Gators, that game was actually on their documentary, Swamp Kings.
Yes.
I
was in the crowd. So you couldn't see me. I was there, though.
As soon as you said it, I was like, wait, I watched this recently. So that's awesome. That's definitely a game to always remember here. And I felt like last week was one of the games that people were at Colorado, Drew. It's one to remember when they played Nebraska with how excited everyone was, everyone on the sidelines, and Colorado whooping that butt. Like we told them, now they got Colorado State, though, Drew. The spread was 21 for Colorado, plus 21 to open the season. Then it moved to -3. Now it's minus 23.5. The book said, can we please get a backdoor cover from somebody? I still like the Buffaloes, though, a little bit. What do you like?
Yeah, so nasty spot for them. Obviously, last week they were the conquering heroes returning home. Next week they get Oregon, which is
look ahead. See?
Probably where the bubble bursts. If we're being honest, I mean, who knows? Oregon might be over.
Oregon scores a lot of points.
Yeah, they score a lot of points. Though, yeah. But no, this is amazing because if I remember correctly, the look ahead preseason on this game was something like Colorado State plus 10. And here it all is all the way out of 23.5. And normally a 13.5 point adjustment would be something that I would be like, oh, obviously the market is overcorrecting here. This is a clear sign to bet against them. But I do not know that we have hit the inflection point on Colorado yet. And I definitely don't get the sense that Colorado State is the team I want to go to war with against this Colorado Buffalo squad. So I think the fact that they're going to, the crowd is going to be engaged because it's going to be, the featured game of the week for all of the college broadcasting. I think that's going to get the crowd pretty worked up, and I think realistically we're looking at an opportunity here for Colorado to carry on what is the coolest story in college football right now.
Yeah, and this is a situation too where all the sharps and the public are going to line on Colorado once again. The line opened at 18.5, went up to 20.5 real quickly, and now it's 23.5. So we're moving towards a touchdown worth of value on the spread. But the Buffaloes are 9-1 ATS in the last 10 against Colorado State. So Colorado has been, against the spread machines. But with Oregon on deck next week and then USC the following week, don't know if I want to play a big number like that. It's definitely a first half look or a pass. Or Shedeur Sanders, Drew, over 323.5 passing yards because that guy has already done that twice. You'll hear all about that.
That's a fun angle.
Yeah, you'll hear all about that on our Saturday show because Eric Froton, Brad Thomas, they already played that, Drew. He had 393 and 510 in his first two games. Now they're throwing 323.5 against Colorado State. But Saturday, college football betting questions for week 3. You come to our YouTube page at NBC Sports. We're talking all the top 25 matchups, especially Washington going to East Lansing for a battle with Michigan State at 5 p.m. Eastern, only on Peacock. We have a lot of plays in that game, and that's one of them we'll cover here on the show as well. But Drew, I want to talk about the team that was on Peacock last week. That was Penn State, or in week 1, And Penn State has looked great so far. They're going to Illinois. They're laying 14.5, kind of a big number with a total set at 48.5. But at the same time, Penn State has been elite when it comes to playing defense. And this Illinois team, if you haven't known anything about them this year, they don't play any defense. No defense anymore. Brett Bielema said we don't do that. 122nd in rushing defense with 224 yards allowed per game. Penn State might have a day. It's Penn State or pass for me.
Yes, Illinois is dreadful. I watched a lot of the Penn State game last week. I kind of feel bad because early in the game they compared Drew Allar to Josh Allen based on height and weight. Oh, no. And I was like, come on, like what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? But he outplayed Josh Allen this week. I'll tell you that much. But the Penn State offense is relentless, man. This is not anything that I recognize because I usually associate that uniform and really just a James Franklin team with making things tough on themselves offensively, but they are cruising right now. Combine that with the poor rating that I have for Illinois on defense, and I completely agree with you. This is Penn State or pass. Penn State team total over. Penn State, Penn State alt spreads is a fun way to attack this because I really just don't see how Illinois is hanging in this game, and this is another opportunity for Penn State to kind of continue to chalk up what is turning into a pretty impressive little resume for them.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to contend for the Big Ten. We talked about them being the third team on the outside in, being the third wheel between Ohio State and Michigan. I don't think it's going to be like that. Penn State is coming, and this might be a statement game as well, opening a Big Ten play. Luke Altmaier, good luck. You're not going to be leading the team in quarterback and rushing this week, and if you do, it'll be a blowout.
Can you look into your crystal ball for me and kind of get a sense of if let's say Ohio State does lose to Notre Dame, let's say Penn State continues to win, what kind of number you think we'll get on that game? Because that's going to be kind of the big pivotal game for them. They probably got that one circled.
Yes. Well, let me see where the game is at actually. I think that matters largely.
I believe it's in. I believe it's in Happy Valley, right? Oh, it's at Ohio State. That's right.
It's at Ohio State. Ohio State's got to be laying at least 3, you'd imagine, but it's a do or die situation. If they lose to Notre Dame, you can't lose another game, period. So yeah, I think that's a do or die, and they have Penn State. Penn State has them 3 weeks before Michigan, so no look-ahead opportunities for Penn State. Everything is ahead. Everything is attainable for the Nittany Lions this year. This is the best team James Franklin's team's had. So, yeah, if you're playing this game, it's definitely Penn State or pass. Another game that may be a pass on the favorite or not, Drew, is Northwestern at Duke. Your Duke Blue Devils looking great. Laying 18.5, biggest number they've laid in a while, over under a 48.5. I'll be honest, though, I mean, there's no reason why Duke shouldn't smack up on Northwestern. Am I right?
Absolutely, you're right. We are way better than Northwestern. Northwestern, send them to the sun. Send that whole program to the sun. We're going to talk about a couple programs that are falling apart here. No, the Duke football, special place in my heart, obviously, as an alum. People probably assume that you go to Duke, you care most about basketball. I really was a huge proponent of the football team, knew a couple players well, and we were not good when I was at school. In fact, we almost set the all-time record for consecutive losses as a D1 program while I was there between my freshman and senior year. I was faithful. But even more than that, we had a big party on campus. We celebrated when Duke won the national title in 2001. They beat Arizona. That was fun. But when Duke snapped that losing streak against ECU in the pouring rain of a hurricane on a Saturday night in early September in 2003, I think, or maybe it was 2002. That was the most that was the best college football game I've ever been to. I know it's insane to think stopping futility matters that much, but we hadn't seen a win since I was a freshman, and it was incredible. We raced the field, tore down the goalposts. That was the high point of my college football viewing experience. And honestly, I wish I'd gone to a football school because I love college football. But that's fine. This particular matchup, if you wanted me to boil it down a little bit, I think Notre Dame. I think Northwestern is completely outclassed here. I like everything that Duke is doing in terms of concepts. They've been aggressive at the right times. They've been pretty well-rounded, pretty balanced. This team is not going to necessarily threaten for anything in the ACC because the ACC is weirdly super deep and good, besides Clemson. But I think ultimately, I think Duke gets a comfortable win here from the friendly confines of Wallace Wade.
Yeah, if you hear this podcast and you join us on Saturday, can you please hop in the chat and say to Eric and Brad, how could you still have Clemson ranked last week after they lost to Duke and not have Duke ranked? I say, what are you guys smoking? Because I want some of that, Drew. This doesn't make any sense. The Blue Devils are here. They are here. Their defense is good. They held Clemson to 7 points. I don't care how bad you think Clemson might be. That is impressive. And now they get Ben Bryant, who had 116 and 169 yards against UTEP and Rutgers. Yeah, I like Duke. It's simply an under 48.5 or an under on Northwestern's team total for me. Blue Devils are a good team.
Let's pitch a shutout, big. Let's pitch a shutout, man.
And that's actually almost a pretty good segue because I was going to say Northwestern almost got shut out last week to Rutgers. It had been Rutgers' first ever Big Ten shutout, but it didn't happen. But anyways, a terrible defense is going up against great offense, Drew. It's Washington laying 16.5 at Michigan State, the Peacock NBC game. Michael Penix is the co-favorite right now, second up at Heisman odds behind Caleb Williams. This guy's been electric. 400-plus passing yards in 2 straight games. I'll be taking the over on his passing prop no matter what it is against Michigan State. Do you like the spread here, or is the total intrigue you more?
I'm actually just intrigued in what is going on, what kind of state of mind the Michigan State players are going to be in. A lot of tumult surrounding that program at the moment, and not a great time to draw an elite offense and just in general a good team. The Pac-12 continues to beat up on everyone else in ways that I think were pretty unexpected. Oregon covers against Texas Tech in the most absurd fashion you ever wanted to see in your life. But,
I loved it. Let's go Ducks,
I was on
baby.
the
Thank
wrong
you.
side of that.
Thank
I was
you.
on the wrong side of that with about 400 people at Circa last week. And you want to talk about hearing a pin drop with a brutal loss. That was
How about Utah?
Utah also, that was equally brutal. Baylor, there were Baylor backers.
Were you on Baylor?
Force. Yes. Of
I was on Utah,
of
baby.
course.
It was the best thing I've seen in a long time. Let's go.
I had Baylor money line. I thought that thing was home free. Yes, dude. Last week in college football, I think I went 1-9, but my biggest bet was the Tulane Mississippi under, and even that almost got absurdly beat.
Yeah.
You
were sweating the first 2 minutes. The first 5 minutes, you were like, "It's over."
Oh my god. Yeah, Tulane got 17 points before halftime. I was like, who is this backup quarterback? I never heard of this guy. Anyway, this is all window dressing. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Michigan State and how do they get focused here. What's going on with that program? Either you have leaders in the locker room, they galvanize and they show up and they perform, or it all kind of comes apart at the seams and everybody's pointing fingers and deciding where they're transferring. And I lean the later just because I have a ton of respect for how good Washington is. Because if this gets out of hand early, if Washington can put their foot on their necks early in this game, then I think you can induce a little bit of quit out of the Spartans here. And it's everybody's trying to there's NFL level talent in Michigan State, surely. But I think ultimately this is a program that is trending down, and Washington is really in decent shape to threaten for making some noise in the Pac-12.
Yeah, Washington's going to be a team to watch next couple of years overall in general.
Yeah.
They're getting tons of transfers. There are tons of great players outside just their quarterback. But I think it's simply Washington team total over. They're not going to be stopped on Michigan State. I saw a terrific article that said Michigan State may be playing Inspire because of all the things that are going with Mel Tucker. And then they have the 5th ranked passing defense so far. Michigan State has played Central Michigan and Richmond. So that, to me, was the funniest thing I've seen today. They are not going to be able to handle Michael Penix at all. This guy is just like Caleb Williams, just like Sam Hartman. He's just like Drake May. He could throw with the best of them. And he was a former Big Ten quarterback at Indiana, and now he's transferred to a better program. And look what happens when you go from one program that doesn't win to another program that does. You become a Heisman contender. So Michigan State, best of luck. Definitely take Washington or pass if you're listening. And this is probably the toughest game to handicap of the week. This one will be on NBC and Peacock as well. Syracuse and Purdue, Drew. Syracuse is laying 2.5 as a favorite, over under 57.5. I think our man Jay Croucher is working this game, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a tough one to handicap, to be honest with you. You got any advice for Jay?
Yeah, Boilermakers money line.
Woo!
Purdue is starting to get a little healthier. And that's a problem for Syracuse here, I think. Syracuse is a team that I'm fine backing at home. But if you're going to tell me that I need to get involved with Syracuse as a road chalk, no, thank you. Purdue, I think, is set up pretty well to come away with the upset. This isn't my favorite look of the week. That's Army. Let's go Army. But Purdue as a dog at home in this spot, I think is pretty solid. I'm fingers crossed that I'm right. My info is good and that they're getting healthier. But I think Purdue gets it done against the Orangemen.
I love that. Actually, Syracuse hasn't played anybody. They played Colgate and Western Michigan, held those two teams to 7 points. They're terrible. Western Michigan team total under is one of my favorite bets this weekend. But I think it's Purdue or pass. Purdue first half is a great look. They've been tied or led at halftime in both their games so far. They played great quality opponents in Fresno State and Virginia Tech. So I love that. Jay, if you're listening, we know you're not here today. If you're listening, Purdue is the play, baby. Don't get it wrong on national TV. We will never forget.
I wonder if he's going to – you think they're going to let him down on the field to go hit the big drum?
Oh, I mean, if he did, he'd become a legend automatically. Then I'd have to hammer Purdue. Then it's first quarter, first half, full game. We're bringing the NBA trifectas back to college football, Drew. But speaking of other sports, the NFL is back. Did you know that, Drew? The NFL is here. And we have AFC East rivals going to battle when Mac Jones, Bill Belichick, and the Patriots face Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins. Coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock. Mac Jones threw 54 passes, and Tua is now a front runner for the MVP. This is going to be a fun one, in my opinion. But the Patriots are a team I hate, though, because they didn't cover the +4.5. They lost by 5. So Drew, I'll let you handle that one there. But Thursday night football, baby, we're back. It's Vikings at the Eagles, laying 6.5 over under 49. We embarrassed ourselves last week. We said the Chiefs got it in the bag. No problem. No Kelsey, no problem. There were a lot of problems. There were a lot. But I'm gonna be honest, Kirk Cousins on primetime. That sounds like problematic if you're trying to make some money. Do we like the favorite again this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give us a little bit of credit for last week. We said we liked the Lions in comeback mode. We liked them to backdoor. Well, they didn't just backdoor; they backdoor won. They didn't just backdoor cover. But no, I look at this game and I have a really, really strong lean that I have not bet, and the price has now moved aggressively enough that it is really a no bet now at 6.5. My lean was for the Vikings. The reasons are pretty straightforward. Vikings offense is still very, very good. Vikings offense underperformed last week because of some fluky turnovers. And while there's not necessarily like a key matchup that I'm like dying to point out here in favor of the Vikings outside of Justin Jefferson finding space over the middle of the field and in seams, it's still a Vikings team that I think can perform way, way better than what you saw last week and what you saw last year against this Eagles team in week 2. A lot of people are kind of probably, or at least I expected a lot of people would look at that result from last year and be like, oh, well, the Eagles were so much better. They're going to dominate. Let's get Eagles. It was 7.5 for a brief second before the Vikings money showed up in full force. And I agree with that. Total is up to 49. I would, again, leaned over past at 48. It's up to 49. I get it. I know why we're playing the over here. The Eagles offense should be able to go score for score with this Vikings team. Vikings like to blitz. Eagles in general, I think, have the weapons who can create separation, who can get involved in a quick passing game with Hurts so that they can bust the blitz. The offensive line good enough to be able to help and prevent the blitz from being a major factor here. So this being a score and answer type of game, like it should be. Here are the reasons that I passed. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's Thursday night football. It's the week. It's week 2, right? When you are early in the season, and you are on short rest, that has huge implications for player conditioning. It has huge implications for offenses being able to integrate like team opponent specific wrinkles in their game plan. So because these two offenses are probably going to have to roll out some of their vanilla stuff, some of their highest efficiency stuff, I could see this being a little bit uglier than the market expects with the total sitting at 49. Nobody got rich betting primetime unders early in the season, Vaughn. You know this. And there are factual reasons why for a lot of the examples that are in a relatively small sample. I get it. But the Thursday night in particular, it's tough to there are a lot of game states here. Eagles blowout. Or just a general close, poor efficiency in the red zone type of back and forth field goals sort of game. Those are realistic possibilities and enough to kind of keep me from playing it over here. So I haven't bet this one, but I completely understand and even softly agree with the market move off of 7 for the Vikings and off of 48 for the over.
I'm actually with you on the Vikings, sir. I hate to agree with you 2 weeks in a row on the Thursday night primetime game, but they're a one possession team. They keep games in one possessions, or they win by one possession. Obviously, I agree with you. I don't think the week 2 game of last year should be a strong indicator of why you should bet the Eagles here. And I'll also note out that despite me making a joke about the Patriots, they did outgain the Eagles 382 to 251 yards last week. That is a tad bit concerning if you're the Eagles here, especially against a Vikings offense. So what I bet so far, the only thing I bet in this game, and I hope you agree with me here, is Kirk Cousins over 37.5 passing attempts. I think he's going to be chucking. Now, last week, Alex Madison ran 11 times. Ty Chandler had 3 carries for 0 yards. He might not even see a touch against the Eagles front 7. But you got Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson. There's no reason he doesn't go over 40. He had 44 against Tampa Bay, 46 against Philly last year. Mac Jones, like I said, had 51 against Philly in week 1 already this week. So Kirk Cousins, I think he just airs it out. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see it. if I'm going to attack Philly, that's what I'm going to do. If I have an offensive line that's good enough to block their defensive line, which the Vikings do, then I'm hoping for some of our aggressive passing scheme to work out well. I almost kind of want to look for like Addison and Hawkinson overs, because I feel like the Eagles are smart enough to get. The Eagles are going to be without James Bradbury. He matters, right? I think they probably try to lock down Jefferson using Slay, and then that creates lots of opportunities for Addison, lots of opportunities for Hawkinson, because the safeties, the linebacking core for the Eagles, these guys, they can be beat. And they ultimately, everybody's going to assume Justin Jefferson totals are going to be flying over, but I think realistically, you're going to see a little bit more balanced attack. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes actually complete sense, and I think that's the perfect way to attack this game in general. I'm excited to see how this plays out, and with the Vikings having 2 banged up offensive linemen, also worth noting, a center and a tackle, that means a lot more probably quicker passes against the Eagles' front seven. So a guy like Addison will be getting a lot of quick touches, especially after impressing in Week 1 and helping my fantasy team almost get a win, Drew. 0-4 in Week 1, but it's okay. I'm a better, not a fantasy guy anymore. All right. It was a pleasure doing college football and NFL with Drew. I hope everyone else enjoyed as much as I did. Don't forget to check out NBCsports.com for more info to help you guys out. Also, a reminder, all your favorite shows are on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports to hear more. Best of luck and enjoy your weekend.